my name is Ramsey. Today we will be discussing Bluebeam. So, on today's agenda, we'll be discussing what the software actually is, what it does, what the desktop is, and the features you can do on there. Then we'll also go over some of the cloud and studio stuff as well, and then we'll wrap it up with the AI features. With that, let me go ahead and just briefly introduce myself here. I've been with IMAGINiT for a little over 2 years with over 8 years of industry experience doing estimating and project engineering on pretty much federal and commercial projects. My scope is essentially focusing on the Autodesk construction cloud products. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll turn it over to you, Shane.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Shane Meyer. I'm an applications expert here as well. I'm located out of our Tacoma, Washington, Seattle, Washington office, and came to IMAGINiT from the industry side as well. So starting off as a road paver, moving then into being a project engineer and a BIM detailer. So eventually I kind of wanted to expand my knowledge into VDC and moved over to IMAGINiT to start learning more things about cloud-based construction, Revit, AutoCAD, and most recently when we added our services to Bluebeam. So I've spent a lot of time doing some implementations and integrations of these softwares, and any questions you guys have throughout today, Ramsey and I will be able to hopefully answer those. And if we, for whatever reason, can't answer those, we at least can ask the right people about those questions. So that's a little bit about us. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Ramsey so we can get into some Bluebeam stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Shane. All right. Now for Bluebeam. So yeah, just like I mentioned on the agenda for today, we'll do a brief introduction on what Bluebeam actually is and what it does for the industry, architects, engineering, and construction. And then I'll also cover with you guys the desktop version of how the software works, the ins and outs, and how you guys can use it to streamline your workflows. And then with that, we'll turn it over to Shane for Bluebeam AI, where he'll go over some key features on the AI side of Bluebeam, as well as the cloud and how you can utilize the cloud to your benefit as well. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have 2 tabs open here. These are my PDF tabs. Bluebeam is a very good PDF software when it comes to reviewing construction documents. You can use this for anything like reviewing submittals, drawings, and specifications, comparing it back and forth, just to make sure everything looks great. So it's a very good software for that. What I really like here is the side panel. The side panel here will give you the thumbnail view, which will allow you to easily scroll through your documents and pretty much see a preview of every single page before you get started. So that's the thumbnail view there. You also have some bookmarks you can add. So if you really like any sheet, you can always add a bookmark to it, and it will bookmark that page for you, so you can go back with ease of use. This is very good for long specification documents or very large drawing files and stuff like that. But yeah, aside from that, if you have DWGs or anything like that you've converted over to a PDF, you do have a layers tool where you can start to turn on and off some layers. This is also good for things like markups and stuff like that you want to turn on and off as well. So yeah, you have a couple key features there. You also have a tool chest, which will allow you to add any markups that you see fit. So if you ever want to do like a call out, maybe there's an RFI brewing down the road, you can go ahead and put it in, maybe replace roof. Yep, just like that. So it's really easy. These tools are pretty straightforward. You have your cloud tool, things like that. So you have like architect specific review markup tools here. Then you also have contract specific markup tools here as well. You also have the engineering markup tools here as well, catered to that. So yeah, and then you just have your general measurements as well. So everything is pretty much catered to the industry for the different personnel trying to utilize it. But yeah, aside from that, you have a couple more panels here, which are very options here, which will allow you to do additional markups and views like measurements and things like that. You can view your properties, spaces, and different sets that you've essentially created. And you also have a place for a signature for any e-signatures that you're trying to utilize. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's a brief intro of what you can do in Bluebeam desktop. One of the key features here, and that I really like, is you see that I have two tabs here. One of them is called 75% drawings. The other one is 100% issued for construction drawings. Now, if any of you, many of you might have utilized many versions of the same drawings, some with minor updates and stuff like that. You might want to see what can you exactly do to see the changes or compare and contrast them, right? Right here, if you go to your document, this is where you can go ahead and start to review your documents thoroughly. So you have this button here called Compare Documents. It's one of my favorite features here. Essentially, it'll go ahead and pre-fill those two documents for you. So I have document A being 100% drawings, document B being my 75% drawings. From there, I'll just hit OK. And now I get this nice side-by-side view that will essentially show me any changes that's been made. So you might see this really ugly looking markup, cloud markup here around this area. That's because it's indicating that something has changed, right? Essentially, what you're going to get typically, if these are perfectly aligned, which my Revit PDF is not, this one's slightly shifted away. So that's why you're seeing the cloud over the whole thing rather than individual. But yeah, I can start to compare and contrast side by side like this, just to see what's changed, see if anything. So I can see here, this hallway has increased by 1 meter. 1 square meter is 23 and it used to be 22. Things like that, little subtle details and alignments right there. So yeah, if this was like a specification, let's say for example, and you want to compare and contrast it against, you know, the submittal against the different specifications, you can do that as well. I do have one open here. Where if I have a product data and my specifications, again, I'll just utilize that document comparison tool there to compare and contrast. Now it'll ask me which documents I want to compare. So maybe I just want to do drywall with my specification. All right. And then I will just have to do my page count adjustment here. 1-to-1. And then I can start to compare and contrast. So essentially what you would do is you would go to your division 9, your specification, and then you would go to your submittal here, and then you'll compare and contrast the wording and making sure everything is up to spec. So as you guys saw earlier, I had to make sure the sheets matched. I can't have 800 sheets and compare it to 3 sheets. So I have to make sure it's 3 or less, right? Just like this. So yeah, essentially these are the ways that you can start to utilize the compare and contrast feature when utilizing the desktop tool. But yeah, aside from that, that is it for my portion of the desktop. I will go ahead and send it over to Shane to show you a little more additional comparison features that you can utilize and pretty much go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Ramsey. So we're going to go ahead and hopefully you guys can all see my screen now. Moving talking about some of the different collaboration tools that Bluebeam has begun to offer its clients. So one of the biggest items that Bluebeam has is going to be its Bluebeam Studio feature. Now you can access this both through your desktop portion as well as through your online access point on the Bluebeam cloud. But Bluebeam Studio is your ability to work collaboratively on projects as you set them up. So you can see here right now, I do have these two sheets open. However, what I'm going to do is go over here to my toolbar on the left, and I have this, it looks like kind of a little building, and this is my studio application. So I'm going to go ahead and by opening into this, it's going to give me some options to select from. I'm going to expand my toolbar so you can see a little bit better here. So you can see up here, it says Studio. I would be able to sign in directly using my Bluebeam login. And then from here, I have my studio projects as well as my studio session. Now, these are two separate things in terms of if we are working on a project, we can check things out, we can take things down, we can use them elsewhere. Sessions are going to be live. That is where we're going to be actively collaborating with other teams on projects at the same time. When we go through here, if I click into my joined project here and I have this new one for Bluebeam Webinar, this is going to show me all of the different pages that have been added into this particular project. I'm able to go ahead and I can open these up. I will go ahead and open this one, for example. And you'll notice that right now, this particular document has a lock next to it. It has it in its title up here, as well as up here at the top. What this is telling me is that I am not going to be able to make any changes to this document or do anything that alters it in any way, because as of right now, it's currently locked. However, it did say available while I was hovering over that lock, and I can do what's called checking out. Once I check this out, because I'm working in Bluebeam Studio, what this is going to do is it's going to make that document uneditable for other members of my team. They're not going to be able to go through here and make any sort of changes on the document while I'm working. So it limits people from kind of messing with your work while you're in the middle of it. If I were to go back and just reopen my screen here for this Bluebeam webinar project that I'm in, you can see now that this particular file does have a little icon next to it. This is telling me that this file is checked out by someone. It is me at this point in time. But what I would have to do in order to bring that back in is right click, say check in, and make sure that this, I can make comments and say, please review any markups on here and bring it back. So now what that's going to do is it's going to bring it back to the team as a whole. Whoever is up next in the review process is going to be able to check that out, and they're going to be able to start modifying that one. Now, Bluebeam Studio is not limited to people who share your license. It is not limited to people on your team. What you can do up here is you can pick whatever project you're currently in, and we have this ability to add people. So if you have different email addresses saved, you can add emails directly from groups. It's a very straightforward, right, to go type or paste emails, and I can go here and use Ramsey as an example. They invite participants. And now what's happening is in the background of what we're doing here today, Ramsey's going to be getting an email inviting him to this studio project, inviting him to come on here and also view the work that we're doing. Now, with everything that we're doing here on the app, within this Bluebeam webinar, as well as my test project, and if we were to switch over into Bluebeam sessions, you can see I currently have no active sessions here. If I go and I start an active session, call this one Go Live while we're going through here. I will add all the open files that I currently have. Again, that's my M01 and my M02 here. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. What I can do before I go through and do that is I can first of all allow this to be more of a public forum, or I can restrict things by email address. But I also have this session expiration. So if you have something, if you have a hard due date at the end of the day, you can say that this session will expire at the end of today, so that now people know, okay, 5 o'clock, we're all checking out. We need to make sure that we have our markups and our construction notes completed by then. So I'll go ahead and hit OK and activate that session. It may take a second here as it gets going. But the cool thing about doing it this way as well, right, I have the exact same ability to go through and I can add more emails into here. There is a record of what is going on in this session, any changes that have been made. You can see that those sheets were both added and somebody joined the session. So any markup that gets made on either one of these two is going to allow us to track those as well. Now, working on your desktop is not its own world, right? We are trying to talk about the entire Bluebeam family of products here. So that being said, if I were to switch tabs here and I go into my actual Bluebeam cloud, so you're going to use the exact same login that you use for Bluebeam. You can log into here, and this is going to be your cloud-based source for all of your Bluebeam products. First up is my workspace, right? These are just files that I went through here and I uploaded. I can upload different files using this button up here in the top right. And then it's also going to break things down versus what's shared with me and what I started on my own. But you can see I can also access my studio projects here as well. And you'll see those two that we had, my Bluebeam webinar and my test project. I can click into those. I can look at my actual sheets here again, open them up and make changes to them as well. And then by switching into my studio sessions, the process is going to be the same thing, right? I already have my Go Live session here. It uploaded just while we were working on Bluebeam as a whole. I can open that up, and then this is actually what it's going to look like as we are here on the Bluebeam cloud to be able to make markups onto our documents. So in this particular case, we're going to be using all of the tools over here on our left-hand side: cloud, pen, text, arrow, callouts. And then we also have our tool chest here, similar to what we have on the actual program. So this one already comes preloaded with architect, contractor, and engineer review. All the same kind of family of tools, but in separate colors so that we're able to differentiate who is doing what, which is extremely important as we go through here and we are working in these sessions, right? Because we can have multiple people in the sessions at a time. People can be reviewing things simultaneously, so making sure that everybody's using a different color is going to be extremely useful in keeping your documents organized and your reviews kind of straight as to who's doing what. From the desktop app, also you can go ahead from the Chrome app. You can also go ahead and create new sessions and new projects while you're on here as well. Moving back into Bluebeam, and one thing that I know a lot of people were excited to talk about today are some of the AI functions that Bluebeam is working to integrate into its platform. Some of those AI features already exist in the background, and that has to do with the way that you are uploading sheets and bringing them onto the platform as a whole. So one thing that is largely discussed by Bluebeam is their ability to do title block recognition. And what essentially that is doing is when you are uploading sheets, you are opening these sheets up. Go ahead and use this one, for example. Go ahead and switch pages here. You are bringing these in, and they usually, right, most of our construction documents are going to have these title blocks on there. What Bluebeam has integrated is now what it is doing is as you upload these sheets, it is actively pulling data out of this title block over here on the right-hand side to pull out project information, location, and page names. So that is something that has been active most of the year without any of us particularly realizing it, right? That's a background function that is helping us to just reduce the manual entry, start to provide metadata based off of what is appearing here in our sheet selection itself. One really cool feature that they have added as well, and I'm going to go ahead and close out of a few things here. So we have a kind of a blank canvas to work with here. I'm going to say new PDF because I just can't stand having it be completely empty. So up here at the very top, and this is something that Ramsey looked into as well, when you click into your document section, this is where we are able to work on things like page setup, your number pages, headers and footers. But we also have this button right here for compare and overlay. Now, as Ramsey talked about that, this is where another one of those kind of secret Bluebeam AI functions comes in that nobody particularly told us about. And if I go to add files here, and I'm going to select these two, take that one out. So you can see right here in my preview, I have grid lines that are all over the place, right? This is not an aligned document. My title block, however, is aligned because we are working off of two sheets that are the same size. They have the same parameters for how these go through. The Bluebeam AI function that they released a little while ago is where when it says page align here, using the auto align function, what it actually does is it reads through the data of your PDF, and you can see now that I have grid lines that are actually lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK so my overlay kicks in. And you can see when you zoom in that we have aligned grid lines here. So it is unique in the sense that because we were working off of sheets that had the same sheet size, but the title blocks were different, right? My title blocks are not lined up. But that's the good news about that, right? It didn't focus on things like the title block. It focused directly onto our page content here to make sure that the actual details of our drawings are synced up, right? This is what matters. We are able to go through here with the confidence of knowing that these have been pick pointed out to make sure that our corners are matched up, our grid lines are all in sync, and we can go about making markups with that confidence in mind as well. There is also one more thing to discuss before we kind of open up the floor for a Q&A. We have a fairly big group today, so I'm sure there will be lots of questions. But Bluebeam does also have what is called the Bluebeam Lab. I will go ahead by the end of today's session as well. I will put a link to it directly into the chat. But the Bluebeam Lab is where they're going to be releasing more and more of these AI functions as we go. That's going to be kind of the testing ground. By signing up for the Bluebeam Lab, you're going to be involved in some of those development processes, those early releases, and being able to kind of be in the know of when these things are coming up. Right? We hear it all the time, not only in the technology side of our industry, but from our clients all the time. What are the next steps with AI and how is AI going to bring us into the future? And Bluebeam is working to be at the forefront of that as well. So a lot of their AI updates are going to be released through that Bluebeam Lab. I will send a link in there, and I highly recommend that you all sign up and take the opportunity to get those email updates and follow along as AI gets more integrated into the platform. We are still at the beginning stages of this. Some of the focuses here as we move forward are going to be things like that title block recognition. Again, that's one of those things that's happening without us even knowing it. That auto align function, using AI to read through and understand exactly where those drawings need to be linked. And then down here, this Bluebeam Labs, right, our 3D drawings. What Bluebeam is working to do is produce an AI generator that takes your floor plans, takes the facts and figures from your PDF drawing, and they're going to be able to automatically start to develop a version of the 3D software, or excuse me, a 3D rendering. That way you can start to integrate even heavier into Bluebeam from other systems like AutoCAD, from Revit, and from those other systems that are going to bring kind of everything back to a centralized model here in Bluebeam. So Bluebeam Labs, I will get a link sent out to you guys all before the end of the session. And for now, I think I'm going to pass it back to Ramsey and Lori as we go through. We will look at all of your questions and start having a Q&A for the rest of today's time. So thank you all very much, and I will kind of pass it off back to Lori.